Pasa Latino.
No. Unique New York.
Unique New York.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Drinks with Los Hermanos. It has been a while, but we're back today. I'm Jackson.
I'm Tristan, and this is our lovely guest, Marissa Calderone.
Calderone, yes.
All right, so Marissa is a friend of ours that we met this year recently, and she has recently opened her boutique, Out of Line Vintage, at BC Cargo.
That is correct.
So we are here to interview you, see how things are going.
Cool.
So can you tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got into what you do?
So, like you said, I have a shop down at BC Cargo where I sell vintage, unique, and repurposed clothing. The question how I got into it always kind of makes me laugh a little bit because it's something that I've always done. I always say that it started with me playing dress up at my grandma's house when I was younger. I used to play dress up with vintage clothing that she had in these big trunks up in her attic, and I got my first sewing machine when I was about 10 years old, and a lot of my childhood consisted of me getting hand-me-downs from cousins, and I learned to sew from my family, so it kind of just has been something that I've done my whole life, and I've collected vintage clothing my whole life, so yeah, it just has always been a part of me, and it's always been a dream of mine to have my own storefront, so it just kind of made sense to merge the two together.
Awesome. Yeah. So when did you officially start, Out of Line Vintage?
My 1-year anniversary will be this August 1st, actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you started that in Grand Rapids?
I did, yeah.
What'd you do there?
So this came to be, the way that this happened kind of surprised me because I really thought that I was going to be doing more online sales. So Out of Line Vintage started on Etsy August 1st, like I said, and I did that for about 2 months. And then I got a call from somebody that had an antique store in Grand Rapids, and they said, hey, we don't have a vintage seller in our space anymore, and we're looking for somebody. We saw your stuff online. We'd love to have you be a vendor with us. And so that just consisted of me putting 2 racks of clothing as a vendor in their spot. And yeah, then I did that in online sales in Grand Rapids until I moved back to Battle Creek about 3 months ago.
Awesome.
So how was it up there in that other store?
It was good. It was really good. It wasn't something, like I said, that I really pictured myself doing. I really saw myself doing a lot of online sales, but it was cool to be able to get all the clothes out of my apartment because I had a very small apartment up in Grand Rapids, so it was nice to have a little bit of room, and it was more successful than online sales were. So
what was the setup? Was it a consignment, you dropped your clothes off and they sold it, or were you there at a booth actively selling?
You just explained what happened. I dropped my clothes off, they sold them, and then I got a check from them once a month. So I really wasn't that hands-on when I was up in Grand Rapids.
How do you, compare the two styles?
Between what I do now and what I did up there. So I actually like what I do now a lot better because I get to be more hands-on with it, and something that I did a lot with my retail background was personal styling. So people would come to the store that I worked at, and I would actively style them at the fitting room. It was super hands-on, and it was something that I really loved to do. So that is the major difference between what I did in Grand Rapids and what I do here now. And it's been really, really awesome because, like I said, that's what I love most about doing this is dressing people up and seeing the look on their faces when they find a new pair of jeans that fits them really well, or a new outfit that they can wear to, you know, whatever event they have going on, or just a new outfit that they really love. So the major difference is really that I get to be a part of the process of people actually shopping.
Awesome. So being more personal with people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Hands-on, like, customer interaction and
Yeah.
getting to know people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you, right now, I know it's only been a couple weeks since you've been open, but do you have any, like, regulars that come in and, like, you know, kind of find stuff for them or save stuff for them?
Yes, I do actually. There are a couple gals who have stopped in for the past couple Fridays that we've been open, and I've made a lot of friends at the cargo space, which is really cool. So that's a really great part of what I do too. Is like that's like the best thing to me ever, when somebody comes in, and whether they buy something or not, if I just get to have a good conversation with them and talk to them about what I do. There have been times where people give me a hug before they leave the cargo, and it just like is the best thing in the world. It's so cool that I get to meet people through the clothing, and I get to make new friends every day. It's awesome.
I do think that was one thing I liked was at the cargo units, like you said, not everybody buys things, which is awesome. Like, I don't need you to buy it, but like when they come in and just talk and just like get to know you as a person, it's really, I'd say special. Like people are generally interested in you and just kind of, become your friends over time.
Well, so what I do has a lot of meaning to me, because like I said, it's what I've done my whole life, but it also is kind of a passion project. It's something that I'm really passionate about, because vintage clothing is a lot more sustainable, and it's a lot more of an ethically sound way to shop. So being able to have a voice with the clothing and kind of share with people why it is I'm selling vintage clothing in the first place is really why I've been having a lot more fun at the cargo space than what I was doing up in Grand Rapids. And even with online sales too, like I like talking to people about what my mission is and just why it's like what sustainable fashion is in the first place, because I feel like not a lot of people know about this movement that's going on, and not a lot of people know about the fashion industry in general, and just how disheartening some of the practices in the fashion industry are right now.
More about all that, because
So what is sustainable fashion?
So to put it, well, I think to understand what sustainable fashion is and what that movement is all about, first you have to understand what fast fashion is. And fast fashion is basically, it's companies who create a need for staying on trend through social media marketing, and the strategy really is to make people feel like they have to keep up with these trends in order to stay cool or what have you. And the industry has really turned into creating a lot of waste. The textiles industry is the #2 polluter in the world right now. So what's happening is these companies are producing these clothes and making people feel like they have to stay on trend, and then these clothes are being, taken to the landfills, and nothing's coming of them. And a lot of these clothes are being made out of materials like polyester, which is a form of plastic. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with the issues surrounding how much plastic waste there is in the world right now. And so that is what fast fashion is. It's basically like overproducing clothing and the consumer over-consuming clothing, and it's gotten to a point where it's really leaving, it's negatively affecting the world and the environment. And it's hurting people too, because part of fast fashion is also outsourcing to other countries, and in some of these countries, the practices for making the clothing is really not ethical at all. There are some people who make 3 cents a day for 10 hours worth of work. There are places where factories are collapsing because they're not up to safety codes, and people that own the factories are not worried about making a safe work environment for people. So like people are literally dying to make this fast fashion, and it's just not right. So that's like fast fashion in a nutshell. So sustainable fashion is the exact opposite of that. It's finding ways to recycle clothing and finding ways to make clothing to where you're not hurting other people and you're not hurting the environment. So I think the biggest and the most common way to shop sustainably is through secondhand and thrifting. And there are also companies who are working towards producing garments in a more sustainable and ethically sound way. And that is the movement that I want to be a part of.
Awesome. If you're you're looking for reused clothes and all that, how do you source your clothes that you sell?
So I always tell people that I find the best stuff from estate sales. And estate sales, if you guys don't know, are basically usually if someone passes away or if a family member passes away and the family doesn't know what to do with the stuff or they don't have a use for the stuff, they'll have a sale and you can go to the house and you can buy things. I also get a lot of stuff at flea markets. So it's kind of all over the place. I do a little bit of thrifting too, and some of the stuff honestly comes to me now that I'm coming up on a year anniversary and people have like heard about what I'm doing. I do have people that bring me things a lot, and that's ideally what I would like to be doing. There's a whole realm of vintage clothing sellers that actually do private buying appointments. So basically you'd go into somebody's house and you would just buy things that they have that they don't want anymore, which to me is really cool because then you'd be able to hear the stories behind everything, like why they bought it and what they like about it. And I think that's where you find the biggest treasures too, because not a lot of people have the opportunity to do that. So that's something I'd like to do in the future.
So do you ever like swap clothes then? Like,
Yes, I do actually, because so to me, and not everybody does this, but I do trades with people because the reason that I do this is to recycle clothing. So if you bring me something and I really like it and I think someone else would really like it, or if it's something that I could use for a project, like a sewing project, I will absolutely let you take a look at my collection and say, hey, do you want to swap this for that? And, you know, I always try to make sure that it's a fair trade, but yeah, the reason for it is to recycle, so I'm open to not just getting money in return for.
So making money
that I have.
is like probably like 1B, and like you said, recycling is 1A on priorities.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
So have you, since you know how to sew and you do all that stuff, have you ever made garments? Like,
I heard there's a rumor going on.
just completely off the...
Just like off of the pattern.
Off a piece of fabric. You find this great piece of fabric and you want to make something out of it.
Yeah, I have. The last time I did it, I think, was for Halloween. I've made a lot of my Halloween costumes growing up. The last one I made was a Dorothy costume from Wizard of Oz. I'm trying to think. I don't do that as much, but it's something that I would like to get into, and you guys have heard me talk about this. Ideally, I would like to be designing things made from recycled fabrics. And I do that a lot where I'll, like, if I find something at the thrift store and it's a cool pattern, but it's a men's shirt, I might take a seam ripper and rip up all the seams so it's just one big piece of fabric and then make it into something new. So, yeah.
Kind of like a yellow shirt.
Yes, like that may be coming soon. Yes, yeah. So stay tuned for some sewing projects by Out of Line Vintage.
So, like, for instance, if I found some fabric, could you make me a jacket out of it?
Yeah.
Do you have fabric that you want to?
Do you want a jacket? What kind of
I
jacket do you
have all
want?
sorts of stuff. You don't even know what I have.
Just want some jeans.
Yeah.
A jacket is not something normally people ask for, though. That's funny. Usually people want like a shirt or a pair of pants. Or I've never made a jacket.
Jean jacket?
Bitchin' jean jacket. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice
Cool.
spring windbreaker.
That would be cool if you could find like some crazy. I feel like you don't see patterned windbreakers very often.
No.
Well, that's right up my alley.
There you go.
What about headbands?
Oh, all day. So many. I could make so many headbands.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. Don't test me.
So, I see that you do lives a lot.
Yeah.
Is that part of your strategy to get more notice around the city area, your consumers?
Yeah, so like I said, on the totem pole of like priorities, recycling is number one. And I would almost say number two is educating other people on the movement, because the sustainable fashion movement is something that I have pretty recently gotten into. And as soon as I learned about how bad fast fashion is, like I was like, man, this is like a revolution, and I want to be a part of it. So I want to educate other people on how they can get involved as well. So the reason that I do the live videos and the reason why I talk about this stuff on my social media platforms is because it needs to be talked about. And I worked in the fashion industry for 5 years, and it took me 5 years to realize how bad the fashion industry has gotten. So I really just want to use the voice that I have through this thing that I've created to educate people about what's going on and how we can change the trend, if you will.
So on more of the social media results side, do you get a lot of like traction on lives, and like do you see it working a lot for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think video has worked better to find a voice more so than anything that I've tried. I think when it comes to modern day marketing, especially so when you think about it, it's like we're moving to an age where technology is king, right? And a lot of people are moving towards shopping online. So we have to find a new way to market to people, and that matches that shift. And I think that when you think about how can you match that shift, and how can you market yourself in a way that people are actually going to pay attention to in this day and age, you got to think about how you can relate to a customer online, which is hard,
Right.
especially coming from somebody who was in a sales background where I did get to talk to people face to face. It was like when I created this business, I really had to take a step back and say, okay, I don't get as much of that face-to-face interaction anymore. I do at the Cargo, but when it comes to online sales, how can you relate to somebody without like being in front of them and being able to have a conversation with them? And so I think doing things like live videos and doing videos in general, but especially the live videos, because people get to see you just as you are. And I think something that works for me a lot is just the fact that I'm super unapologetic when I do these videos, and if I say something funny, I'll own up to it. And if
Like saying
a lot, yes. It's, oh my gosh. If you guys are gonna make me start saying all the time.
No, we're not.
But yeah, I think that if you can be vulnerable and you can be yourself online, that's something that people really gravitate towards, because we all know that Instagram is a total highlight reel now, where everyone's like, oh, I have this great life and I'm so perfect, and it's like, okay, we all know that that's not true. So I think when you're trying to, speak to the masses, the more you can do it in a way that lines up with who you actually are as a person, the better results you'll get.
Yeah, that's kind of what I liked from seeing you online and in person, really, is that you are natural, like, tell your truth all the time. And I don't know, I feel like especially now with a lot of connection being through a screen, that getting personal and creating this experience that is a true connection with people is what it's I don't want to say making a comeback, but that's like what society is becoming, and people like that better.
Yeah.
Because there's such a, I guess, disconnect, because there's a lot of
phone to phone. Yeah, there's opportunity for people to like just be a phoney. You know?
Right, yeah, like you said, Instagram's just a highlight reel where
Yeah.
like people are like, oh, okay, cool, you did that one weekend and you made one picture on purpose, but telling your real life story, people are interested about what really happens. Like, there's a couple people I'm like, oh, you should, do this and this and this for your business, and they're like, or in general, like Braulio wants to be a producer, and I was like, why don't you just do this? He's like, people don't find that interesting. I'm like, I guarantee there's a handful of people that find it interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's huge too, is some of the best advice that anyone has ever given me is just to find your tribe and don't ever compromise your why or like why you're doing something for sales. You know what I mean? And when I say find your tribe, I mean like if you're I don't like to use the word authentic all the time, but if you're as authentic as you can possibly be and you can share that with other people, you are going to find the people who give as much of a crap about it as you do.
Yeah.
And you won't have to sell a thing a day in your life.
Right. What you put out there comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's something we try to do, or not try to do, really. I mean, we're ourselves on our videos.
Yeah.
And, like, what you see on our Facebook page and Instagram is who we really are, and I think that really helps because it's not like somebody could see us at the bar or out to eat, and we're the same people that we are at the shop and online. And so it's not like you said, it's easy to act phony online by just portraying whatever you want to portray. But when you're in real life, out in the public, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
And so if all of those lined up, I think it's just going to be better for you and your business, and or just you and your life in general.
Yeah. And people want to, there's such a need for that too, like people who say what they think and are just like real, you know?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's something I really like about you guys too. I feel like when I see you online, it's the same people that I see when I come to the shop.
I mean, yesterday we were at that chamber event and it was just awkward up on the stage while Kara was trying to read stuff. People start laughing. Yeah, whatever.
We showed up in headbands and
my pineapple shirt.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something, you guys, though? Like, I channel you sometimes when I go to events. Like, I kid you not. Like, I'll be thinking, like the event that we went to the other day with, you know, other business people.
You
think business people, and you're like, okay, should I dress up? And immediately I'm thinking of like my outfit, you know, as soon as I hear about an event that I'm going to, and I'm like, should I dress business casual? And I actually stopped myself and I was like, what would the Cafe Rica boys do? They would wear headbands and t-shirts, so I'm gonna wear whatever I want because
like when you ask what you should wear to this, and I'm like, whatever you
want.
No
yeah.
dress code.
No, I love that about you guys.
Well, I mean, part of that's funny. Like when I'll be down here on a Wednesday when I'm down here for coming to the market for work and stuff, and people see me in my shirt and tie, and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, yeah, I work during the day. This is what I wear every day to work. Like, yeah, I think you said something like that when I was down there, either this week or last week. Like, oh, it's so fancy. I'm like, yeah, that's how I dress for work.
But you also like dressing up for work.
I do enjoy dressing up for work.
Like when you put effort into that as well.
So. Yeah.
It's okay to switch it up every once in a while, but I really appreciate that you guys are just like I said, you're unapologetically who you are, and people know you guys because of that, and they love you because of that. So
it's just anything you can do to just like kind of put your personality into
what you're doing,
just without even communicating verbally, like your nonverbal cues. Like you said yesterday, I was wearing my Hawaiian pineapple shirt and a headband, and so were you, and it's just they're like, oh, man, those must be the Cafe Rica guys.
Yep.
That's how they always dress. Like,
well, and that's what we found more success when we started putting ourselves out there on our business. Is like more sales came, and so we're just all right. I guess that's what people like.
Yeah.
And so we just became ourselves. We put our spin on everything, and like a couple days ago, we were talking about naming drinks, and I was like, well, if you look at all of our stuff, it's simple names. Like, we don't try to make a weird name for stuff. I mean, we did for the pompadour and stuff, which is
Yeah,
Kinda like
yeah,
what
we
we
were,
wanna
we were
do.
trying to like brainstorm an idea, and we were just like, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're getting too. That's not what we
Yeah.
do. Like
Right.
we're
Yeah.
just trying to get too clever or too whatever. And it's just like, no, we're simple. Like the pompadour,
Yeah.
is it's pomegranate.
Yeah.
So boom, right there. And but sometimes like you feel like you have to do
Right.
stuff like that
Yeah.
to get a little crazy, and then you just got to remember just be you. Yeah, be you and do what works for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a question.
What's up?
Have you ever thought of doing a fashion show to try and just do another event in Battle Creek?
I would love to. I know they did a fashion show last year with the boutique that was at the Cargos, and there has been talk of doing a fashion show. So that's something that we'll let you know about when we figure out all the logistics of it. But yeah, absolutely, that would be super cool.
What do you think? I would say, because Battle Creek's a pretty Midwest town, obviously, and what you do is not typical in the Midwest. So
Right.
what do you think needs to happen or should happen that we can get to the point where, you know, a boutique like yours can sustain in a town like Battle Creek?
Yeah, I think that's an important question because I even felt that coming back to Battle Creek, like a little bit of a fear of like, I don't know if Battle Creek is going to support this weird, outlandish like business idea that I have. And so first off, I was totally blown away on the first 2 weeks of the Cargos, just with how many people got behind it and were supportive of my weird taste and what I was trying to do. And I think what needs to happen is just, first off, I think that people need to, I'm going to be real cheesy here, but believe in Battle Creek. I was definitely one of those people who wanted to get the heck out of here as soon as I graduated from high school, and I did. I moved away for a couple of years, and I got to a point where I really started to miss my family and my friends, and I started to realize that there was this whole movement and group of young people that were still in Battle Creek that are working towards making it a better city. And I kind of had to gut check myself and say, you aren't going to make anything better if you run away from the problem. And like, my family is super deeply rooted in this Midwest town because my family settled in Albion from Italy, and I could tell you the story of my grandpa who came over from the ship in the 1920s, and he created a business. He created the Albion Beverage Company with his brothers. And if you go to my grandma's house, she'll tell you all of these stories of the Calderones who settled here and who built businesses here. And it's obviously fizzed out with, you know, downtown not being as lively as it used to be. But if more people do what I did, and I wouldn't constitute it as a mistake necessarily because I learned from it, but at the same time, I don't really plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So I think what needs to happen is just for people to ground themselves in their hometown and just to lead the way and just say, this is what I'm working on, find your voice, find your audience, and do whatever it takes to make the business work here, because I don't think it's an impossible task to make small Midwest towns like this lively again. It's just going to take businesses like you guys and people who have a vision and who have the drive to make it happen.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that people have to realize that the problem, quote unquote, that they have with the city is directly correlated with their effort
And their outlook on it.
to the city.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. So I think people just people need to continue doing what they're doing and supporting businesses like this, because like I said, like, I'm so blown away and grateful for the amount of support that I received in the first 2 weeks at the Cargos. And like, it was shown to me that a small weird business like mine can be successful here. So I think we just need more people stepping up to the plate and saying, you know, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it here. And I think that people just need to continue being supportive of that, which hopefully that doesn't go anywhere, but yeah.
So we ask 2 questions.
Yeah.
Well, we slacked a couple times.
Most of the podcast, we ask the same 2 questions to the people to kind of wrap it up and end it.
Okay.
So you can answer these in any order you want. The first one is, if you had any advice to give somebody, personally or in business, what would it be? And the second one is, what was your biggest setback or failure that actually propelled you towards success?
Okay. I feel like I want to start with the failure question, and I honestly think my biggest failure was, and you mean in relation to
to your business,
to my business?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you have something else in mind that was a quote-unquote failure.
I think something that a big failure that so it's hard for me to answer that question, because I guess we'll go back to the first question. My best advice to anyone would be to learn from your mistakes and to own up to your mistakes, because that is something that has helped me out so much in my life. As soon as I stopped believing that I knew everything and was able to be vulnerable with people and own up to the mistakes that I've made and learn from them, you can go anywhere. You can do anything with life. So that would be my advice, is just to learn from your mistakes and to be able to own up to things that you've done wrong, because you're not going to do anything, but you're going to learn from it. Mm-hmm. And I think a big failure that I felt like a failure when I left my retail job, because I walked away from, and I've spoken about this on my social media, but I walked away from a job with a 401k and a really nice paycheck every couple weeks, and benefits and just complete stability. And I was working towards a promotion where I was going to have even more of that, and it was going to be my big girl job. And I think people probably looked at me like I was crazy when I did that, and I think it could be categorized as a failure, and I felt like a failure when I left that job, because you have that moment of like, what am I doing? How am I going to pay my bills? And all of that kind of like floods in when you make a decision like that. But I think that really did propel me forward, because my business became a matter of life or death, to be dramatic about it.
I mean, it's not. It's real life.
Yeah, no, seriously. Like I had to make it work. So I think that failure is what really propelled me forward, because I didn't have a choice for it to not work. To do it.
So would you say that decision was because you found like what actually made you happy? Like all these perks, like money, retirement, et cetera, stability. That, would you say that was realistically not what was going to make you happy, but doing your own thing, going towards that goal where you're fighting against fast fashion and all that? Is really what made you happy? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I just my values weren't aligned with what I was doing in retail, and they were with out of line. So I said, to heck with that, I'm going to do what makes me happy. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So where can the people find your business online?
So if you want to come shop in store, we talked about the cargo that I have. Those are on 35 West Hamblin Avenue, next to Full Blast if you're in the Battle Creek area. And I also...
Hambly and McCambly.
Hambly and McCambly, right next to the post office too, right smack dab in the middle. And if you want to follow our Facebook page, that's where you will get the most information. It's just Out of Line Vintage on Facebook, and we're Out of Line Vintage on Instagram as well. So that's where you can find us online. Links to our online store is on our Facebook page as well. So if you follow that, that's got all of the info that you could ever possibly want about Out of Line Vintage.
Did you say your hours?
We are open Tuesday through Thursday, 10 to 5. Fridays we're open until 7, and then Saturday we are open 10 to 3.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
Thank you guys for having me. Sorry I beat you to it.
Thank you for coming on with us. And everybody, go down to the Cargos, check Marissa out, Adeline, and everyone else that's down there. There's a lot of great vendors down there.
It's a great program,
and it seems like every time I'm down there, there's more people. So that is amazing, and that's great. We're alums of the Cargo, and
it's what propelled what we have today and what is in the future. So it's not just a waste of parking space.
Yeah.
So
there's plenty of parking downtown. I say that every video because it's a pet peeve of mine when people say there's not. The parking garage is 1 hour free, so take advantage of it.
There you go.
okay, so until next time,
Take it easy. Ooh, I like the wave.